Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going to tackle something that I'm sure a lot of you have wondered about. With all the different types of magnesium supplements out there, how do you know which one is right for you? And we've got a whole stack of research here to go through.
Yeah, it really is a jungle out there. Magnesium citrate glycinate oxide malate threnodate.
I know, it's kind of crazy.
It's a lot to sort through. But before we get into all of that, I think it's good to take a step back and think about, why magnesium is so important in the first place.
Yeah, that's a great point. Reading through some of this research, it's amazing how crucial magnesium is to our bodies. I mean, it's involved in hundreds of processes: muscle and nerve function, energy production, blood pressure. It's kind of like the unsung hero of the cellular world.
Definitely. And there's even some emerging research suggesting it could have a role in things like glucose metabolism and brain health. It's pretty incredible.
So it's not just about preventing leg cramps after a workout.
Not at all. Although those of us who've had a Charlie horse in the middle of the night can definitely appreciate what magnesium can do for our muscles.
For sure. Okay, so back to the different types. Let's start with magnesium citrate. Our sources mention it's well absorbed and often used as a gentle laxative.
Right, and that's because the citrate part actually pulls water into the intestines, which helps to soften stool and, make things move along.
So if someone's dealing with constipation, magnesium citrate might be something to look into.
It could be, but as always, everyone's different, so it's best to start with a low dose and see how your body reacts.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, what about magnesium glycinate? This one I've always heard is good for calming effects and sleep.
Yeah, that's because it's bound to the amino acid glycine, which is known for its calming effects on the nervous system. And there's research that suggests lysine can help promote relaxation and better sleep.
So it's like a 2-for-1.
Exactly. And because glycinate is very gentle on the digestive system, it tends to be really well absorbed. You don't get the stomach upset that some people experience with other forms of magnesium.
Interesting. Okay. So then what about magnesium oxide? Isn't that the one that's often in antacids?
Yep, that's right. Magnesium oxide is a very common ingredient in those over-the-counter antacids, and it works by neutralizing stomach acid, so it can be really helpful for heartburn or indigestion.
But I also thought I had read that it's not as well absorbed.
That's the tricky thing about magnesium oxide. It has a high amount of elemental magnesium, but it's not absorbed as easily as some of the other forms, so, it might be good for occasional heartburn. But if you're looking for a magnesium supplement for overall health benefits, you're probably better off with a different type.
So high magnesium content doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be super effective.
Right. It's all about bioavailability.
Okay. So then what about magnesium malate? That one I've seen mentioned for fatigue and muscle pain.
That's an interesting one. Magnesium malate is bound to malic acid, and malic acid plays a role in the body's energy production cycle. So there's some research suggesting that it might be helpful for people who are experiencing fatigue, muscle pain, or even conditions like fibromyalgia.
So the malic acid is what gives it that extra boost for energy.
Potentially. Yeah. The thought is that the combination of magnesium and malic acid is more effective than either one alone, but more research is definitely needed.
Now, what about magnesium threnate? This is the one I've heard is good for brain health.
Ah, yes, magnesium threnate. This one is particularly interesting to researchers who are studying cognitive function. What sets it apart is its ability to cross the blood-brain barrier.
Okay. And why is that so important?
Well, the blood-brain barrier is kind of like a protective shield around the brain. So the fact that magnesium threnate can cross it means that it can directly impact the brain, potentially enhancing memory and cognitive function.
That's amazing. So someone who is worried about age-related cognitive decline, might magnesium threnate be something worth looking into?
It's definitely an area of active research, but as with any supplement, it's crucial to consult with a healthcare professional before you add something new to your routine.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered citrate, glycinate oxide, malate threnate. What about some of these other ones? What about magnesium taurate?
So magnesium taurate is bound to the amino acid taurine, which is known for its calming effects on the nervous system. Some research suggests that it might be good for heart health and blood pressure regulation.
Oh, interesting. So another one that could be helpful for relaxation.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But again, more research is always needed.
Okay. And then magnesium chloride. I feel like I vaguely remember reading something about using that topically.
You're right. Magnesium chloride is unique because it's highly soluble, which means you can take it orally, but you can also apply it to the skin.
So you could take a bath in it.
Exactly. And topical magnesium is actually often used for muscle cramps and soreness. The idea is that it absorbs through the skin and goes directly to the muscles.
Interesting.
Okay.
Now, what about some of these less common ones? What about magnesium sucrose octasulfate?
That one's not really used for everyday supplementation. It's actually a key ingredient in some treatments for gastric ulcers. So unless you're dealing with that specific issue, it's probably not the magnesium for you.
Makes sense.
Okay.
And then for the last two here, we've got magnesium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide. Are those kind of in the same family?
In a way, yeah. They're both sometimes found in antacid products to help with indigestion and heartburn. But like magnesium oxide, they're not as easily absorbed as some of the other forms, so not ideal for daily supplementation.
Got it. So we've gone through a whole bunch of different types of magnesium, each with its own little quirks and potential benefits. But before we get into figuring out which one might be best for you, there's a few other interesting things from the research that I think are worth mentioning.
Yeah, definitely. Let's dive into that. One thing that really stuck out to me was how serious magnesium deficiency can actually be. One of our sources highlighted a study where they treated major depression with magnesium, and it was super effective, like shockingly so.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, and they went on to suggest that maybe low magnesium in the brain could be a factor in all sorts of mental health challenges. Pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, it makes you realize how important it is to make sure you're getting enough. So it's not just physical health, but potentially mental health too.
Right, exactly. Now, speaking of physical health, our sources also had some interesting findings about magnesium's effect on blood pressure.
Yeah, I saw that too. What did you think?
Well, one meta-analysis, we looked at combined data from 34 different randomized trials, and they found that taking about 368 milligrams of magnesium daily for 3 months led to a pretty significant reduction in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure.
Wow. So just by adding magnesium to your diet, you could potentially lower your blood pressure.
It's definitely something to consider. But of course, you always want to talk to your doctor before making any big changes, especially if you're already on medication for blood pressure.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Now, there was also a mention of using magnesium sulfate for neuroprotection in newborns.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Magnesium sulfate is sometimes used in neonatal intensive care units to help protect the brains of babies who have experienced things like perinatal asphyxia or HIE, which is a type of brain injury.
That's incredible. So it seems like magnesium plays a vital role throughout our lifespan,
Right.
from infancy all the way to adulthood.
It really does. And the research on magnesium is constantly evolving, so who knows what we'll discover in the years to come.
I know, I can't wait to see. But I think for now, maybe we should shift gears and try to help our listeners figure out which type of magnesium might be right for them.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So let's say our listener is generally healthy, and they're just looking for a magnesium supplement to support their overall well-being. Where would you recommend they start?
Well, if they're looking for something that's generally well absorbed and easy on the stomach, magnesium glycinate is a pretty solid choice. Plus, the glycine can help with relaxation and sleep.
So magnesium glycinate is a good all-arounder.
I'd say so. What if our listener is dealing with constipation?
Then what?
Well, then magnesium citrate might be a better option.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, it acts as a gentle laxative. Just remember to start with a low dose and see how your body reacts.
Okay, good point. Now, what if someone's really interested in those potential cognitive benefits we were talking about?
Then magnesium threonate could be worth exploring. With its ability to cross the blood-brain barrier, it's a promising option for supporting memory and brain function.
So threonate for the brain, citrate for digestion, and glycinate for general well-being. What about people who are struggling with muscle cramps and soreness? Would topical magnesium chloride be helpful?
Oh, for sure. Applying it directly to the skin can provide some targeted relief for those achy muscles.
So it's not like there's a magnesium for just about everything, but with so many choices, it can feel overwhelming to know where to begin. What advice would you give our listener as they start to explore the world of magnesium?
I think the most important thing is to really think about your individual needs and goals. Are you trying to sleep better, have more energy, support your heart health? Once you figure out what you're hoping to achieve, choosing the right magnesium becomes a lot easier.
So it's about finding the right magnesium for you,
Mhm.
not just following whatever is trendy or what someone else recommends.
Exactly. It's not one size fits all. You might even find that a combination of different types works best for you. The key is to listen to your body and find what feels right.
I love that. So besides individual needs, what else should people keep in mind when choosing a magnesium supplement?
Dosage is a big one. The amount of magnesium you need can vary depending on your age, your diet, your overall health, It's always best to start with a lower dose and see how you feel, then adjust as needed.
And of course, talk to your doctor before starting any new supplements.
Definitely. Especially if you have any health conditions or are taking medications.
Now, our sources also mentioned the different forms that magnesium supplements come in. What should people know about that?
Well, you've got capsules, tablets, powders, even topical solutions. Some people prefer capsules because they're convenient. Others find that powders are absorbed better. It really comes down to personal preference.
So many options.
Yeah, it's like a choose-your-own-adventure for magnesium.
I like that.
Yeah,
But I guess the bottom line is it's all about finding what works for you and your body.
couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, the research on magnesium is always moving forward. So while we've covered a lot today, there's still so much to learn.
I know. Feels like we've just scratched the surface. But speaking of learning, one of our sources brought up something that I found really interesting.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
They were talking about how we need more research into the long-term effects of different magnesium compounds, like how the dose and the type of magnesium might impact how it's absorbed and used in the body.
You know, it's true we have all these different magnesium tools, but we're still figuring out how to use them in the most effective way.
It makes you wonder what we'll discover in the future. But for now, I think it's time to wrap up and give our listeners some key takeaways from our deep dive.
Sounds good to me.
So I guess the big takeaway from all of this is magnesium is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Absolutely. We've seen how different types can have different strengths. Magnesium citrate for digestion, glycinate for that general well-being and relaxation, and throw it for those potential cognitive benefits. You've got to pick the right tool for the job.
And then don't forget about dosage and the form of the supplement.
Right. You've got to start low, go slow, see how your body reacts, and adjust if you need to. And I know we say it all the time, but talk to your doctor before starting a new supplement. They can really help you figure out what's right for you.
Definitely. Now, when we started this deep dive, I thought magnesium was pretty straightforward. But wow, there's so much to learn.
It's true. The more we uncover about magnesium, the more we realize how much we still don't know.
It just shows that even with something you think you know, there's always more to discover. And who knows what research will uncover about magnesium in the future.
I'm excited to see what they find. But for now, I think we've given our listeners a good starting point for exploring the world of magnesium.
I think so. So to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into magnesium. And as always, remember, this isn't medical advice. So make sure you talk to your doctor before making any decisions about supplementation. Keep learning, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.